One thing to keep in mind whenever you are using these CX350s is they tend to not do great in low light situations. However, there are a few things that you can do to help improve the way the camera looks in low light situations. And the first thing I would suggest doing is changing your sensitivity mode. And that can be found in the menu. You can either hit the menu button here on the side of the camera and use this little wheel to scroll through, or you can use the menu on the top that is found underneath the LCD flip out screen. You want to hit that menu button and then you're going to go down to System. Hit Set, brings up this new menu. You're going down here to Shoot Mode, hit Set, and change that to High Sensitivity. And that gives you just a little bit more light. I use this in most every indoor situation I go to and anytime you're shooting at night. When you go back outside, you want to go back in here. Again, this is Menu, down to System, then down to Shooting Mode, and change it back to normal when you go back outside, because it will be way more sensitive to the bright light whenever you're outside during the day. I recommend you start with the shooting mode in the high sensitivity when you're in a low light situation. So start there. If that's still not enough light, if it still looks too dark for you, then you can switch over to a medium gain. That switch can be found here right in front of your white balance, the very front of the camera. L, low, medium, high. If it's really dark outside, you might be able to switch over to high gain, but you're going to get some video breakup there. You're going to get a little graininess introduced into your video. I would suggest sticking with low unless you need a little bit more, then bump it up to medium. If you got a question about what your gain is, low on our cameras is set to 0 dB. You can see there. You bump it up to medium, it's at 6 dB. You can see that adds a little bit of brightness to it. And then high is 12 dB. And that, again, will introduce more grain, but brighten it up. I would recommend staying with medium if you can. And the level of gain can be adjusted within the camera settings, but the 0, 6, and 12 is a pretty standard across the board for all of our cameras here. If after trying all of those different things, first starting with your high sensitivity, then moving to your gain, if you're still hurting for light, you can try to adjust the shutter. The shutter is going to give you some choppiness if you bring your shutter down too much. So movement is going to look like they're doing the robot. So that's why I suggest trying that last. But maybe you're in a situation where there's not a lot of movement, you're at a crime scene or something like that, shutter may be the better option than gaining all the way up to 12. So keep that in mind. Your shutter button can be found here, also on the side of the camera. Hit that, it'll cycle on and off. On, in this instance, is 1/100th. You see it gets a little darker, you turn it off, and it gets a little brighter. That's at 1/60th is typically what that's set at, but you can adjust it further. So you hit the shutter button, then when it's selected, you hit the wheel button that I showed you earlier. That's right next to the menu button, and it highlights 1/100th there at the bottom right. It highlights that, and you can cycle through to other shutters. I wouldn't go probably much more than 1/30th. As you can see, things get it'll get choppier the smaller you make that. So if I cycle down to 1/6, it gets brighter, but you can see how choppy that is. All right, quick recap. Start with your high sensitivity. Then I was just moving to your gain. Try the medium gain, the 6 dB. And use that in combination as well. High sensitivity, then add the gain on top of that. you'll probably be good. If you need extra gain, try the high, but keep a close eye for that breakup. If you still need more light, then try the shutter. Keep an eye for the choppiness of the video. Ultimately, it comes down to you in your situation. Use your eye, use your best judgment, figure out what works the best.